Greetings. Thank you for tuning into this 2021 primary election candidate forum for the Olympia City Council position number 2. This forum is presented by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County, along with Thurston Community Media, and is being held electronically due to COVID-19. Candidates, moderates, and timers are all joining in using Zoom links with the help of TC Media. A little bit about the League. The League of Women Voters is proud to be nonpartisan. We neither support nor oppose candidates or any political party at any level of government, but we are always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. The League registers new voters, studies issues, and advocates for its positions with the legislature and other governmental bodies. Despite its name, the League is open to anyone over 16. I'm Allison Brooks from the League, and I'll be moderating this forum. The timer will show you a sign when each candidate has 30 seconds left, and then we will have a stop sign for each candidate when the time is up. For candidates who are unable to see the sign, we will tell you when the time is up. The candidates for this position are in alphabetical order: Yelm, Huỳnh, Robbi, Kesler, and Bruce Wilkinson. For this forum, each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a series of questions. The first candidate asked the question will have 2 minutes to respond. Each candidate after will have 1 minute for a response. And we will alternate questions between the candidates, so each has the opportunity to start first. And finally, there will be 1 minute for closing statements at the end. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for being here and remind you to be a voter. And now for the following questions, the first respondent will have 2 minutes and the subsequent respondents will have each minute to respond. So I'm going to ask Yelm the following question first, and then followed by Robbi and Bruce. Yelm, please explain what you know about the joint work being done by Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater on homelessness issues. Hi, would you want me to repeat the question, or are we good?
Oh, I just needed to unmute. Okay. So I am still learning all of the work that's being done by Lacey, Tumwater, Olympia, and Thurston County as a whole. The Regional Housing Action Council is still relatively new. There is a great plan in place. Recently, we launched the Scattered Site Program, where we'll be able to service our houseless community members where they're at, whether that's by car or the encampments. And I know ultimately the goal is to get people housed and keep them housed, believing in housing first with a variety of housing types and understanding that people have different needs. We want more shelters, more permanent supportive housing, and rapid rehousing. People need to have a safe place to lay down to, a place to securely stow away their belongings, and ultimately a place to heal and maintain their healing. So the Scattered Site Program will make safe camping sites available until more substantial shelter can be provided. We must continue to partner regionally and leverage relationships to maximize our impact.
Thank you. And I will repeat the question for Robbi. And Robbi, you will have 1 minute to respond. Please explain what you know about the joint work being done by Olympia, Lacey, and Tumwater on homeless issues.
Thank you, Allison. So I believe that the homelessness response really does need to be regional. I would like to advocate for additional resources from both federal and state sources, but also make sure that everyone at a regional level is at the table. Homelessness continues to be a really big problem in this area, but really along the whole West Coast. And I think that we really need to make sure that we are treating people with compassion and respect, but also making sure that we are being transparent and making sure that we appropriately understand what is working, what's not working, and we can more quickly address the gaps in services. So I do think that the work that's being done by Lacey, Tumwater, and Olympia is a step in the right direction, and I would like to see more of that in the future.
Thank you. And now, Bruce, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, the homelessness is a huge issue, and I'm glad that our county is working with all the municipalities. That's really the only way that we can really work to overcome this issue. And it was heavily reliant on Olympia kind of being the hub of support services. But Lacey's stepping up nowadays. The county is stepping up. It's like everybody's really working together. It sounds like, and there's the scattered sites. All people doing camp cleanups. There's for Olympia, we have the one plan. We have, but that's not exactly the whole what the whole regional county is. But it's a big important issue, and working together is the only way to conquer it.
Thank you, Bruce. So the next question, Robbi, you'll get to start the next question. You'll have 2 minutes. What is the best way to create more affordable housing in the future? 2 minutes.
Thank you. So I think that we have known that we should be expecting population growth for several years now. With the recession and coming out of the recession, we probably are behind in housing stock. And I think that we need to make sure that moving forward, we do have a wide variety of housing options, from supportive housing, low income housing, market rate housing, continue to lead the way in making sure that development is environmentally responsible, but also more easily able to take place. And I think that we've heard from constituents that some of the permitting for ADUs, as we look at ways to kind of become more multi-generational or increase more affordable housing, that we were lagging a bit. And I'm happy to see that the city has stepped up and taken steps to address those gaps. And I would like to see more of just a full range of options as we move forward, continuing expecting growth and also seeing the really unfortunate rapid rise in housing prices at the moment. So I think that the way to address that is to make sure we continue to have responsible development.
Thank you. Bruce, you now have 1 minute to answer the question. And the question is, what is the best way to create more affordable housing in the future?
Yeah, thank you. And well, the best way to make more affordable housing in the future is that we do need to build, of course. Part of the problem is that we're seeming to be giving away a lot to developers. They're getting big tax abatements for a dozen years. They're getting sweetheart deals where the city's selling them property at just an amazing price. And and this is during a time when the housing market's so hot that things are being sold in a day. And I just think that to some degree, we just need to end that, because we're going to have a huge tax problem down the line. Now, I think one thing also we need to look at doing is we need to stop the investors from buying all of our affordable housing and just renting it out to families. That will help to keep our prices steady. And I really think that that's something that's really overlooked.
Thank you. Young, that you have the next question. Well, not the next question. I'm sorry. You have the 1 minute to answer. What is the best way to create more affordable housing in the future?
Thank you, Allison. Yeah, so we do really need a variety of different strategies for affordable housing. We need to increase the supply and accessibility of permanently affordable housing for low income and cost burdened households by establishing a permanent source of funding for low income housing, increasing the variety of sizes and types of housing available and overall housing supply by making it easier to build all types of housing projects, building in urban areas to reduce sprawl, coordinating modest income housing sufficiently close to shopping and transit services, continually building on resources, collaboration, public understanding to improve implementation of housing strategies. The city's role is policy, regulations, investments, partnerships, planning, civic engagement, and legislative advocacy. while the city does not control the housing market, we can certainly influence it.
Thank you. Okay, Bruce, you will have the next question first, and you'll have 2 minutes. What is your stance on the current plans and strategies for addressing sea level rise? 2 minutes.
Wow. Well, this has been an issue that I've been concerned about for a long time in Olympia. It was probably back in 2007 when we went around Olympia. I was part of a group. We had a little event in Sylvester Park talking about it. And we went around and marked where the sea level rise could be on the buildings in the coming years. So this has been a long issue for me. And our city had a plan that was going to be like, oh, we're going to build a $100 million wall across seawall in our community that's been on the books for 10 years, but we've never put any money behind it or anything. It's as if we're just thinking this issue is not going to really hit us. And tomorrow we got a 100-degree day in June, and it's looking like it's going to be hot for a long time. So, for us, we just need to invest heavily in this issue as a port city. I think we do need to do shoreline restoration work, highly prioritize that. I think we need to keep all of our green spaces available. And I think we have to do some adaptation. When we were building downtown, you specifically said sea level rise rather than just greenhouse gases and climate change, dealing with that. But we need to take into account these things when we're building 100-year buildings, that they are, where's the water sea level going to be? We're going to be like Venice, it's going to be a situation where we really need to change. And I think that should influence us, the city itself, on where we put buildings, where we put emphasis on construction, and go forward knowing that this is going to be a big deal.
Thank you, Bruce. Next, Young, you have 1 minute to answer the question. What is your stance on the current plans and strategies for addressing sea level rise?
So I'm honored to be a member of the Thurston Climate Action Steering Committee, which is one of our council interjurisdictional committees. Our priorities are energy efficiency in our buildings, carbon sequestration, shoreline restoration, electric vehicles, and truly bringing equity into climate justice efforts, and ensuring that we're putting forth solutions that work for all members of our community.
Thank you. Robbi, and your stance on the current plans and strategies for addressing sea level rise? 1 minute.
Thank you. Of course, not just Olympia, but much of Washington is going to be addressing this issue in the future. And I think that we need to make sure that we continue to have a seat at the table and advocate for ourselves at the state and federal levels, and make sure that we are going to have the resources necessary to protect and, again, restore and take action on climate change, and also protect the resources that we currently have. Of course, tribes, the state, federal, we will all need to work together to make sure that we are protecting our residents, protecting our environment, and creating a healthy place for our future generations.
Thank you. The next question goes to Young, then Robbi and Bruce. Ready? If a controversial land use issue raises a lot of community concerns, how will you address it given the context of past issues the City Council has addressed? And if you need me to repeat the question, I'm happy to do it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time, Allison?
If a controversial land issue raised a lot of community concerns, how would you address the issue given the context of past issues the City Council has addressed?
Thank you. So a controversial land use issue has come before the council in my time, and there were certainly very, very high interest from the community. And so just taking that all into account and reviewing all of the community voices on this issue, be it through email or phone or meeting with folks, and really tracking like the trends of what are the major issues that people are concerned about, and what are the major interests that people want to see with this land use land use issue that comes before us, and then going down a path of bringing in our partners and stakeholders and doing the research on what do we have available, what resources do we have at hand, what is going to be consistent with our comprehensive plan that the community's voice has been in for years and years, and what decision can we make that will be the best for our community that's feasible right now.
Thank you. Robbi, you have 1 minute. Would you like me to repeat the question?
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, great. 1 minute.
So I will make case-by-case decisions based on available data and information. Of course, I can't say for certain how I would vote on specific projects, but I do want to govern in a very transparent and collaborative way. So I'd want to make sure that everyone has a voice at the table throughout the entire process. I think some of the decisions made recently, some feedback that I've heard is that people felt like they came from out of nowhere and the process wasn't very open, transparent, or just available to the everyday person. There's no question that any development may take away from the natural setting and have an impact, but like we talked about earlier, development is going to help us with affordable housing. So I appreciate development done correctly. I believe that some development can enhance areas, and I would like to develop and foster policies that promote a more livable community, but also at the end of the day, I want to be a very good listener and want to collaborate and be transparent.
Thank you. Bruce, you have 1 minute to answer the question, and if you'd like, I can repeat it.
Yeah, actually, could you repeat it? I just want to be
I'm happy to do that. If a controversial land issue raised a lot of community concerns, how would you address it given the context of past issues the City Council has addressed? You have 1 minute.
Well, that's a big reason why I'm in this race, because it feels like there was a lot of animosity that was generated in the community around some of these in the most recent, past year or so around land use and by the current City Council. And so, I think it was preventable. Like people really could have took a step back and, done a little bit to find, unity on some of this stuff. We're not in the same issue as we were back in like 2008, 2009, 2010, where we couldn't get development. We can get development. So why are we giving away the best land to these developers with nothing and very little in return? And I just think that that's really got to change. So I'm going to listen to the people. And then I'm going to, slow it down so we don't have, being sued in court over and over again.
Thank you, Bruce. Okay, now I'm going to ask Robbi, then Bruce, and then Young the next question. If elected, on a scale of 1 to 5, how high would climate action rank on your list of priorities? 1 being the highest priority and 5 being the lowest priority. Let me ask that again. If elected on a scale of 1 to 5, how high would climate action rank in your list of priorities? 1 being the highest and 5 being the lowest. And I'll start with Robbi.
Thank you. So I think that's a really interesting question because the issues of climate justice really impact everything. We see desperate impacts to people of color. And I think that saying that 1 does not mean that other issues are not just as important, but I do want to make sure that we are addressing climate change, climate justice in a way that really takes a look at that and factors it into all decisions we make, because like I said, I'm very concerned and want to make sure that we are protecting the environment and leaving it in a good place for future generations.
Thank you. Bruce, where are you on a scale of 1 to 5?
5. Yeah, we're having 100-degree days coming up in June. This is just unprecedented. I'd put it, it's something that we need to have inform every decision that we make. So I put it number 1, keeping in mind that we're going to have, this is a global issue. So what we can do is perhaps very small in effectiveness. We can be very vocal about it. And I think as a city council member, we can seek to just be, to some degree, we should lead on this issue in the whole United States. And we could lead on this issue for the entire world. And by being an excellent example on how to transition to deal with climate change, we can affect climate change nationally, internationally, and we can save our planet, And I think that, without right now, climate's threatening to kill off, so many, it's not threatening, it's literally the changes in temperature are killing off so many people, so many animals and plants. And it's time for us to basically confront that and realize that the people in DC, as much as they started to finally talk about it this past year, they're not really going to move at the rate that we need them to. So we have to really work locally, and we're going to change things. I think we also need to get the young people involved. Right now we have an unemployment issue to some degree, especially with the young people. We need to get them involved in a civilian climate corps that will employ them to rebuild our parks and to basically retrofit our housing so that we can have better housing and increase the public transportation corridors so people get into buses, which are now free in Olympia. So we need to show off and engage the youth in a major way on this issue.
Thank you, Bruce. Young, you can answer, if elected, on a scale of 1 to 5. How high would you rank climate action on your list of priorities, with 1 being the highest and 5 being the lowest?
With 1 being the highest, definitely climate justice would be number 1. To truly reach climate justice, we'll have to reach racial justice, gender justice, and social justice to ever come close to a truly just climate. We made a commitment to our youth activists in Olympia to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, and we only have 9 years left to do it. So we are currently working, I'm currently working with colleagues on a climate framework to be incorporated in everything that we do at the city. So number 1, I think it's very important.
Thank you. Thank you all. And now you will each have 1 minute for a closing statement. Let's start with Bruce for 1 minute, and then Robbi will have 1 minute, and then Young, you will have 1 minute. Bruce, you have 1 minute for a closing statement. Bruce, you're muted.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I would like to say I really appreciate the League of Women Voters for 100 years now, working to promote democracy and debate, and in our community especially. It's really astounding that this is our big debate that we're going to have. So this is the only chance to really get to know each of the candidates in a communication setting like this. And I really want to say thank you so much for that. And check out my websites, brucecampaign.org. I'm really putting out a lot of issue statements about different issues and about different ways in which I would be different than the other candidates that are running, and why I joined. And I think that will give people more of an idea of who I am, what I'm working on. And I'm a grassroots activist. I'm a school bus driver, and I'm a union member. I'm a renter, and I look forward to basically, fighting for everybody, win or lose, and making things better.
Thank you, Bruce. Robbi, you now have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you. I echo that. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. So I got my undergraduate degree in sociology from the University of Washington and my law degree with a focus on Indian law from Arizona State because I wanted to have as much knowledge and training as possible to help people. I was very intentional about getting those degrees, and I take great pride in my educational background. And I have helped people. I was general counsel for the Confederated Tribes of the Chehalis Reservation during a time of tremendous growth. I more recently used my professional skills to serve the people of Washington as nonpartisan counsel at the House of Representatives. My full-time professional career has been helping people by working within government. Service and governance has not been a part-time hobby for me. It has been my life. I'm not a politician. I'm running because I want to help. I have the support of community members and local tribes, not political incumbents and organizations. What I am is a Native American, a mother of 2 children in Olympia's public schools, a spouse of an Olympia business owner, and an attorney with a successful public sector career. I have the skills to do this job, and thank you.
Thank you, Robbi. Young, you have 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you. My name is Huỳnh. I am a current city council member. I was appointed to a vacancy this past January out of a field of 28 candidates. I have business experience and have done extensive equity work with marginalized communities. I am a social justice and equity consultant at the Department of Corrections. Prior to that, I worked at the Office of Minority and Women's Business Enterprises, working to increase equity in public contracting for small minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses in our state. I am well prepared educationally. I have an associate's in business from South Puget Sound Community College, a bachelor's of arts in entrepreneurship and business management, and a master's in public administration from the Evergreen State College. I am a longtime Olympian, a young person, a state employee, a woman of color, a first-generation college graduate in my family, and a proud daughter of refugees and Olympia small business owners. These are among the identities and perspectives that I bring with me to inform my decision-making. I care deeply about our city's future, its natural resources, and residents. I believe wholeheartedly that the government at the local level has the most impact on people's daily lives, and I feel a genuine civic responsibility to contribute my skills and experiences.
Thank you. And thank all 3 of you for joining us today. Thank you, Young Huỳnh. Thank you, Robbi Kesler. And thank you, Bruce Wilkinson, for participating in this forum. We thank Thurston County Media for producing this program. And the forum will be available on Thurston County Media channels, the League of Women Voters website, and as a YouTube video. We are glad that you out there have taken the opportunity to view this forum. We remind you to please vote in the primary election beginning July 14th and closing on August 3rd, 2021. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to our moderator, Kelsey Monaco. Thank you very much for being our moderator today. And thank all of you out there for watching us, and thank our candidates. And with that, have a great day.